Today we're going to be talking about assembling, lubing, sanitizing, charging, and cleaning both the SaniServ models 407 and DF-200. There's very few differences. First, we're going to start assembling the front plate assembly. It takes the spigot plunger and its two O-rings that just glide on. A little bit of lubricant goes on. Spread it around. The O-ring, take what's left on your finger and get lubricant between each O-ring. You take a front plate. The whole idea of this is we're going to line up this hole with this slot. So the way I do that is I start at 90 degrees off. The first O-ring is not going to touch until it hits a step in the bottom. So you just go until you hit the first one, give it a slight turn as you go across. It lets that O-ring last a little longer because over time we get nicks inside the spigot bore. You take the front plate handle. We're going to line up these holes with these. Push it in. Take your fast pin. Put it through the whole assembly. Shut the spigot. Take the front plate O-ring. Roll it on. This O-ring gets no lubricant. If you do, we're going against a tiny little wall of the barrel, and if you do lubricate this, it will squirt off and leak. So there's the front plate assembly. Next, we have the dasher assembly. You'll notice there is a groove cut near the base of the shaft for that. It takes this O-ring. Just roll it into the spot there where the groove is. We take the rear seal. We're going to put this thin web of rubber down into that groove. The easiest way I know to do it is to put the wider end over your thumb. We're going to get the rubber up right next to it. We're going to take our two index fingers and push hard. So you push it down into that groove, walk them around into a circle, and it snaps on. Take the dasher. 3 pencil eraser-sized blobs of lubricant. Then put the rear seal assembly over it. The other part is the blade. And when we make this, we have 2 flats on this bar that hold it so that as you push this down over the flats and then roll it forward, it will be stationary and stay. Next thing is the stator rod. A little bit of lubricant behind the square head. It goes into this hole. Hold the whole thing in your hand, holding on to the stator rod. Put the blade on top so that if you go over this way, it doesn't fall over and you have a hard time getting it in. If you put the blade on top, it will go in very easy. We're going to go over to the machine here. We're going to take this part of the drive and insert it into a female part into the back of the barrel. So I'm going to go up to the barrel till it hits. I'm going to continue holding on to the front of the stator rod, spin it until it engages. Leave the stator rod straight. Take this front plate assembly. We're going to put this knuckle of the stator rod into the recess of the front plate. You definitely want to make sure that the spigot plunger is shut and the handle is up. If you put this on upside down, you will make a big mess. Start one side and just get it started. Come over to the opposite side and push to help a little bit. Get the opposite side started. And then you can either go back and forth if you like to use one hand. I like to use two. We're going to go up, applying even pressure on sides. We don't want to cock one side down and then scrape the other. It's a pretty tight fit between this front plate and the ID of the barrel. So we're going back and forth until we get it up tight. Next, we're going to take the carb tube, put its little O-ring into its groove, a little bit of lubricant. Smear it around, and we're going to just place it into the mix pan. Do not put it into the inlet hole yet. We're just trying to sanitize it at this point. If you have a 407, it comes with the mix pan impeller. What you do is a little bit of lubricant, just a little, on the base, insert it onto its pin, put it back into the back right corner. The magnet will snap it right into place. Take the drip tray. It's been cleaned before. Simply pop the top in. Go over the assembly to the back. Go behind it and snap it down into place. The machine is now assembled and ready to sanitize. Okay, we're going to sanitize. We use this no-rinse cleaner that we provide with the machine. I'm going to use about a gallon of water, a little bit over a gallon for this type of machine with 1/4 of an ounce of sanitizer with it. I've already put it in. I've already whisked it up. It's a good idea to do this ahead of time so it doesn't get so sudsy. So I'm going to dump that into the top of the machine with the carb tube in place. And if you have a 407, the mix pan agitator is in place. The sanitizer has filled. I'm going to take the brush that we provide, go down through the inlet hole with the machine off. I'm going to go around the edges. I'm going to turn this down into the clean out position. It's important that you only do it in clean out. If you go up into the auto, the refrigeration will come on and you can break the plastic parts. Let it run for about a minute. Okay, I'm going to flip the machine into the center off position. I'm going to drain out the sanitizer. The machine has been drained out of all the sanitizer. I can do it. I'm going to leave on 407s the mix pan agitator in place. On 407s and DFs, I'm going to pull the carb tube out. Okay, I have all the sanitizer out that I can get just by draining it. I need to force the rest out by flushing it with mix. So, while holding the handle open, I'm going to come to the front of this tiny pan and slowly pour mix in. You'll see it's pushing the sanitizer out. I have that out, so I'm going to fill the pan. Bubbling's a good thing. If you don't hear the bubbling, you forgot a seal somewhere and you're about to make a big mess that you should have caught with sanitizer. It's not so hard to clean up. Once the bubbling stops, grab the carb tube, insert it into the inlet tube, Now this machine, there's several ways to start it. You can just turn it to auto and get bored and wait 10 minutes and it will come on. The second way is to take advantage of a timer we have in there that splits the electrical load. I'm going to go down into the clean out mode. In a second and a half, I'll hear a click and I immediately fire it up to auto and it will take off. There was the click, there's the auto, there it's taking off. The third way is to put it up into auto, grab onto this spigot plunger, lift up until you hear the compressor come on. You're ready for daily operation. Put the mix pan lid on, you're good to go. Okay, it's the end of the day. I've emptied everything I could into a sanitized bucket, covered it, put it into the walk-in so it could be used as rerun tomorrow. Twice I've put in about a gallon with just a little bit of mild detergent in it and rinsed it through. I'm about to take the parts out and clean it. At the start of draining, I pulled the carb tube out to make all the fluids go through faster. So the carb tube goes into this bucket that I'm using. I'm going to get the O-ring off. The way you do that is you make a lot of extra room here so that when you pinch and push up, you don't have the cloth slowing you down. It puckers up, you can roll it right off. Going to get these front plate knobs off. I'm going to place this here so I don't have as much of a mess to clean up. Unscrew the knobs. I'm going to take the front plate off. I'm going to get its O-ring out. Lift the handle straight up and down. Pull the pin. Get the handle out. Grab onto the spigot plunger. There's not much left to grab onto, so you will probably need a dry rag. Same thing as with the carb tube. I'm going to leave myself extra room to move. Pinch, push up. Get the O-ring off. Take the back one off first. If you do the front one, you're going to roll the back into the front and have to do it 3 times. These parts are ready to be cleaned. I'm going to take the dasher assembly out. Pull off the stator rod. Lift the blade straight up and down so you can pull it off. Grab onto the rear seal. I need to get this off. The easiest way to do that is to take one of our O-ring removal tools. Don't go in it straight. You'll just snap this little piece off. Go in it at an angle. Get behind it till you can roll it out and away. Roll it off. Probably need some traction to grab onto the rubber. Pull it off the rear seal. All of these parts need to go back into your kitchen and washed with mild detergent and lukewarm water. Never use anything with bleach or run it through a dishwasher. Our plastic parts will break. Also on the 407 model, you'll need to get out the mix pan impeller and its pedestal. After while these parts are back being washed and allowed to air dry, you need to get some soapy water up here, clean out the mix pan inside the barrel, wipe down the machine itself with a cloth, not Scotch-Brite. It will scratch it up. It should look good for years. Also the front plate. for both the 407 and the DF-200. Included is a scraper blade, brush, O-ring removal tool, rear seal, spigot plunger O-rings, dasher O-rings, and carb tube O-rings. If you need a front plate for your 407 or DF-200, it's going to be our kit number 188470, including the front plate O-ring, and 2 spigot plunger O-rings. If you need a spigot plunger for your 407 or DF-200, it is part number 109939. If you need a carb tube for your 407 or DF-200, it's sold in a kit with the O-rings for it, part number 188577. If you need a fast pin for your 407 or DF-200, it is part number 64255. Part number is 105531.